Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda Cassel. I'm the general manager at PCCA, and I'm joined by Gair Maxwell today. He was our keynote speaker at our marketing and sales and has a new book called Big Little Legends. He shared a lot of his history and some great ideas on how we can help you guys build your brand. So I met you at Vistage, so I've had the pleasure of listening to you twice. And I think I needed that to really absorb some of the content as well as reading the book. So picking up kind of where we left off today, there's a few phrases that really resonate with me.
Okay.
Attention is currency.
Yes.
So just kind of give me a brief, what does that mean?
What does that mean? That's a great place to start. Attention is a form of modern day currency. Why? If you can get eyeballs and hearts paying attention to whatever it is you're promoting, whatever cause, whatever business, et cetera, you win. It's the easiest way to explain how attention has become currency. What happens to a business that slowly loses favor with the audience and eventually gets no attention? That business will perish. That's just going to happen. But businesses and causes that get attention, well, they are now in a position to leverage that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so one of the stories we told today, and we really expand on it in chapter 12, and I love how universal this story is. It's the city of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. When you think about Moose Jaw, what makes them different than any other municipality? So every municipality through Western Canada and the known Western world, when you look at their economic development literature or how they promote themselves, every town is a great place to live, work, and play. Every town. They will tell you that. Every town is friendly. Every town. And when we got the invitation to work with the city of Moose Jaw on their brand, what we discovered was when you're in that world of every place is a great place to live, work, and play, you got to find something else that will get you attention. Otherwise, you get drowned in the noise.
Exactly. So what you're talking about is differentiation, which was my next favorite part.
Right. But addition to the differentiation, then you've got to be able to find a way to get that story of differentiation out on social media platforms. There's no better place to build your brand today than on social media. Why? It's the only place left. There is no other place. That's it. So if you want to, if you're serious about building a brand, you've got to look at, well, how is this going to play out on social media platforms? And to wrap up the Moose Jaw story, what happened was in January of 2019, the mayor declared war on Norway. And for people just hearing this story for the first time, how does a $50 video translate into millions upon millions upon millions of dollars of free global publicity? Moose Jaw became world famous because of their conflict with Norway, because the Norwegians had the audacity to build a moose statue 30 centimeters higher than the iconic Mac the Moose. Once they got all that attention, which answers your question, Amanda, once they got all that attention, tourism goes up 30% in 2019 alone, and it's still climbing to this day post-pandemic because more and more travelers along the Trans-Canada Highway are giving Moose Jaw attention because what are they doing? They're going for the selfie with the famous moose. So attention equals currency. And there is a happy ending to the story, is that Mac the Moose did undergo a very successful antlerectomy, and the community rallied around him, and he has regained his title as the world's tallest moose statue.
Excellent. It's a great story. And there's many of them that we've talked about. And I think the human to human is the other piece that really resonates. And we all enjoy a story. So I think where I'd like us to kind of continue our conversation is really, how do we create the story of our business for each individual pharmacist owner? How do you create that story that resonates with who you want to be seen as?
Right. That's a brilliant question, Amanda, but also even more brilliant is what just happened in the session, in the chit chat afterwards. So you do this conference like we did here in your boardroom, and after a while, people are coming up to you and they're asking about how potentially. So this is going to be purely hypothetical, and we'll keep the names private.
Okay.
Okay? But this just happened. So, pharmacist in an undisclosed location in the chit chat post conference starts asking exactly what you asked. It's the same question, right? And here's what I explained. The secret to building a brand, and one that maybe someday becomes legendary, you can't talk about your products and services. There it is. You just can't talk about that. You've got to find something else. You've got to find something else that connects with you, your values, your personality, who you are. I always ask the question, and Amanda, you've seen it twice now, who are you beyond your products and services? And that is a strategic question that dumbfounds most business leaders, not just in your world here and the worlds that PCCA is connected to, it's in all the worlds. Who are we beyond the products and services? So, in the chit chat afterwards, we start with, okay, well, what do you do? What are your hobbies? What are your interests? What are you into? Guy says, I'm a pilot. You're a pilot? Well, can you picture the video blog from 10,000 feet? What's stopping this one pharmacist from creating a video blog, a YouTube channel, call it High Flying Pharma, or whatever it is, right? And so flying spelled PHLYING, the High Flying Pharmacist, or right, whatever it is. But my point is, he could do story after story after story at 10,000 feet, or before takeoff, or. Could he draw parallels between the kind of preparation and study that a pilot has to do, the pre-flight checklist that they have to do in terms of their flight planning, to how a pharmacist would prepare different compounds and prescriptions, et cetera, et cetera. That is just a pure storytelling oasis, because everything around flying is about top performance, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And then what other pharmacist in his geographic trading area would ever dream of doing a video series or a YouTube channel around being the high flying pharmacist?
Exactly. And I think you're hitting on another thing that resonates with me too. It's not replicable. This is not something your competitors can ever do, because it's your story. So the key for me in developing this is you have to be first and foremost authentic. Mm-hmm. It needs to resonate with you as a person.
Absolutely. And the sad thing, if I may, the sad thing is the word authentic has become another business buzzword. I've watched this for over a decade now, as that authentic word has slowly drifted into the world, the world of stakeholders and mission statements and all kinds of business language, jargon, and platitudes. It's unfortunate, because authenticity, that which is real, is what people are craving. And so in chapter 12, I spoke of the authentic swing. And the authentic swing is using the metaphor of the golf swing to illustrate what you just said, Amanda, which is, who are you? Well, for those of you, whether you're a golfer or not, even if you're not a golfer, you have your own swing, and you were born with it. So no two golfers have the exact same swing, even if they went to the same golf pro for instruction or lessons. The point is that the golf swing is like the equivalent to the snowflake, the thumbprint, the signature. It's the same thing. And the reason I resonate with this and I share it with everyone is I'm the son of a former pro golfer. So my dad, born 7 minutes from the first tee in St. Andrews, Scotland, had the most gifted swing I've ever seen, still to this day. But then when I dug into it, I love the story of the legend of Gair Vance, the novel from Stephen Pressfield that was turned into the movie with Matt Damon and Will Smith. And the authentic swing is the perfect metaphor that captures what you just said. It's not something you learn, it's remembered. In other words, it was already inside you. Mm-hmm. So like our friend, the pilot, he was already that guy, wasn't he? He already was. Now, remains to be seen, can he take that seed of an idea and build a brand strategy around it? But you know and I know there is something in a person that makes them want to, aim for the stars and fly through the clouds and be at 10, 20, 30,000 feet. There's something inside a person. You can't make that up. That's what we're talking about. In his case, that would be his authentic swing, right? And everyone's got one. That's the universality of it, which is something, like I said in the book, we dove into in detail in chapter 12. Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Canada's most notorious city. Mm-hmm. What's the authentic swing? Well, that's where Al Capone and other Chicago gangsters used to go hide in the 1920s. When the heat got a little too heavy in Chicago, they would take the train and head west, and Moose Jaw was the last stop. They crossed the Canadian border, and there was a network of tunnels that led from the train station throughout the downtown. In other words, if you needed a place to hide during Prohibition, there was no better place than Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. It was a haven for scoundrels and scallywags and ne'er-do-wells and gangsters and Canada's most notorious city. Let's tell the story that reflects our sketchy past. It's the authentic swing.
So there's also, besides being true to yourself, there's also an element of entertainment that comes from a lot of these stories. And I think that once you find your truth, whatever that is, your story, you have to. I think about the car dealership that you mentioned in Calgary. Help me with their name.
Oh, Charles Glenn Toyota, Alberta's celebration destination.
And that works for him because he's a community-focused person. So
and he's celebratory. His whole thing. He's such a happy-go-lucky, good-natured guy. He's all about spreading joy, spread the love. Miles, Tim's line is miles of smiles. There it is. Yeah. It's all there. But the Alberta celebration destination and then the daily stories of celebration. What are we celebrating today, Tim? I don't know. It's National, Bring Your Pet to Work Day, or it's National Battery Day, or there's always a celebration every single day. That was the natural, organic extension of Tim's personality that was already there before he and I met.
Which is great. And another example from the book was the friendly car, or the huggable car dealer which is why I have a stuffy with me today.
Yes.
Which I did have to steal this from my daughter. She was not happy that I brought it today.
Really?
I gave it to her after our tech conference. But the first time we met. This story is really unique. Most of us associate used car dealerships with the slick bricks,
sure.
the loud, you do it so well, the
entire automotive industry, if you were to study their communication style, and every category, including pharmacy, has a communication style, a language, if you will. So in the car industry, which is easy because everyone can understand it, it's all better quality, better selection, better service, better value, better prices. That's it, yeah. Right? And so the story you're speaking of, Canada's huggable car dealers, in 2006, we created something completely different. And he became the Romeo of roadsters, the Casanova of customer focus. By golly, he's the McDreamy of drive. We would go on the radio and tell these 30-second vignettes and never talk about the products, never talk about the cars, never talk about the pricing or the servicing. We just told these, kind of tongue-in-cheek stories about Canada's huggable car dealer. And that launched in September of 2006. It's in great detail in the book in chapter 2. It's the origin of Big Little Legends. And when I met Jim Gilbert, his business was doing about 1.2 million a year in annual revenue, employing about 5 or 6 people, might have been a part-timer. We launched the story in 2006, and that's when the thing really started to grow. The snowball becomes the marketing avalanche to the point where Canada's Huggable car dealer became the largest independent used car dealer in all 4 Atlantic Canadian provinces. It became a $50 million company, employing 38 people. There's nothing else like it, but it's got that distinct identity. And what makes it true is that if Moose Jaw is all about notoriety and like I say, a very nefarious past, a sordid past, Jim Gilbert and his wife Donna are the most down-to-earth, salt of the earth, generous people you'd ever want to meet. They are so kind. I always say they're characters right out of Seinfeld. They're both low talkers. They're soft-spoken. They're quiet. And so Huggable was the natural, poetic extension of the truth that was already there. And so when I talk about authentic swing, it's the metaphor for your true self, your true identity. And for many people and for many business leaders, that's a lifelong quest to figure that out, because it's not the same as product, service, features, advantages, benefits. It's not the same as what's your unique selling proposition. This is a completely different operating system than traditional marketing. It's really based on the notion that once you become the legend, there's no one that can really compete with you in your category. But how do you create a legend? Well, it all starts with a story. Simple as it sounds, you can't create a legend without a story.
Simple, but not easy.
Simple, but not easy.
That's it. And I think the other key thing here, it's not just about the pull that you talk about versus push. So yes, we are trying to attract customers, but also if you can really define this, you will also attract like-minded or like-focused people. So your retention with your staff, you'll have everyone, you attract people that will help you build towards what you're working for.
Let me point that out, because I've noticed, especially in the last calendar year, there's this increasing focus on how do we get great people to join our team. Like, this has become a real issue, and I'm not dismissing it. It is a real issue. Okay, if an ounce of prevention is worth 10 pounds of cure, then how does the same principle apply to becoming the destination employer? And here I can illustrate it in one word: reputation. Have you made a strategic effort to build an online reputation? Because the interview is now happening online. It's happening at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's happening when the candidate is in their slippers and their pajamas and they're looking at your YouTube channel. Oh, but you don't have a YouTube channel. But that's what they're looking for. They want to know, who are you? They want to know, can I trust you? Do I relate to you? And a bunch of text is not going to do the job. Customer reviews, now we're into a world where we doubt the veracity and the validity of customer reviews. But if you can see a video with real people and you can see they're committed to building a brand online using video-based storytelling, now you've got a chance to tilt the playing field in your favor at 1 o'clock in the morning when the interview has actually happened before they submit the resume and the application. You've got to win the game before they submit resume and application. So, quick case study story, because anyone can watch this, and I encourage you to do so. The best one that I've come across so far is someone out of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. They're in the home renovation business. And if you'll permit me, Amanda, West Shore Home. I met the CEO in January of 2018. His name is BJ Wurzin. Anyone can look this up. So what do? They do home renos. They do kitchens and bathrooms and doors and windows. And when I met the CEO, He's got a great company going. He's got 130 people working there. He's doing about 40 million in annual revenue. So he's by a lot of people's standards, he's got a good company, but he's got a much bigger vision. And his bigger vision happened the day, no different than what you and I just did with, 30 people in the room today, basically? Mm-hmm. He sat there and suddenly there was something he heard that addressed a need. And that need for scale came down to bodies. He couldn't scale his home renovation business because you need people to actually install the doors and the windows and the bathrooms and the kitchens and all that stuff, right? So that was the day. It was January of 2018, and the seed got planted, and then I got the invitation to go work with the leadership team, and then I went back again with the HR team. In fact, in November, I'll be going back again to work with the training team of the HR department, okay? Because they've really invested in the long-term strategy around reputation. Here's my point. In the summer of 2021, they released, and anyone can look it up on the West Shore Home YouTube channel, or if you go to my blog, you'll see different blog posts around West Shore Home. They released a 2-minute video that I think is the best employment video I've ever seen. But it didn't happen without long-term thinking, because for them, they developed the mission. They're on a mission to become America's most admired home improvement company. So if Tim Beach is all about celebration, and Moose Jaw is about notoriety, and Jim Gilbert's about huggable and caring and kindness, West Shore Home is right out of the military. This is U.S. Marine Corps, this is Navy SEALs, this is we're going to share a foxhole and we're going to have each other's back, and there's no slackers on the job. Like, they're that, committed to basically winning house by house this mission to become America's most admired home improvement company. It's taken me a while to get to the case study part of this story. At the end of 2021, Amanda, they've got 1,700 employees, 25 locations, 12 different states, doing north of $500 million. I've never seen the guy go from 40 million to 500 million in 3 years. I've never seen that. I'm sure others have done it. I haven't seen it. And the enduring legacy, in fact, I just talked to Josh Wood, the director of development, the other day, and now they're up to 2,400 employees. See, they're not having a problem getting the right kind of people. Right. I hope that's coming through loud and clear.
100%.
They're not having that problem. Why? Because years ago, they realized the significance of the long-term investment. This issue is not going to go away. And the more I've thought about this issue, who's West Shore Home and who's everyone watching competing with? You ready for it? I'll tell you who they're competing with. Apple, McDonald's, Starbucks, Lululemon. What's in every town? Every town. Here we are in London, Ontario. Do you think Apple is looking for employees? Mm-hmm. Sure. Do you think so is McDonald's, so is Starbucks, so is Lululemon? There's just 4 off the top of my head. Mm-hmm. My point is that those are identifiable brands with reputations. Yeah. That's who you are competing with. I don't have to like it. I just have to understand these are the rules of the game. Once I understand the rules of the game, and reputation dovetails nicely to what we talked about earlier, attention equals currency. Exactly. And it's not just customers and revenue, it's can we actually attract the kind of people that reflect our values?
And that's what keeps them there too.
Exactly.
So you're attracting people that will help you achieve your mission. They see value in it, and when we're talking about the millennials and the Gen Zs of the world, they need to feel, even the Gen Xs, they need to feel connected to the work that they do.
Yes.
Beyond the paycheck, beyond the time.
Right.
That is their motivating factor. So if you put that out there for everyone to see, this is who we are, our mission is this. You can attract your customers, but you're also attracting people that will help you achieve that.
Well, and that's it. That's why brand, to me, is still to this day, it's such a misunderstood word. It's not your logo. It's nothing to do with graphic design. In its purest form, it's really not even about marketing and advertising. It's about the reputation you want to create for yourself so that you're helping to make the world a better place. That's what, in my view, that's what brand really comes down to. So for anyone watching, you want to really take a long, hard look at the kind of reputation and the digital footprint. You know, what's the digital footprint out there? When they Google you, what will they find?
Exactly.
Right? And so I started my own journey because that's what happened to me. I ran into someone and it was such a jarring conversation. It was in 2014. And my friend said, "You have no digital footprint." And I was like, "What? I've got a website." Right? But no, you don't have a digital footprint. It's not like we can easily see you and what you're all about. And that's why in 2015, we really dove into the YouTube space, putting a lot of video out there. And so when you do over 500 videos, guess what? After a while, you start to accumulate a little bit of a footprint and generate a little bit of attention.
So let's carry that conversation, because I know it is a little intimidating doing video. I'm living it right now.
Right now, yes.
But in today's day and age, we all have cell phones that have very good video capability. We sat down to do this over a 45-minute session. It does not have to be that. We talked about it in the class, the frequency. The key here is do it regularly.
Consistently, yes. We talked about it in the class. Consistency is the unsexiest word in the business vocabulary, but that's how brand building works. Will you show up? It's like, I see this on LinkedIn all the time, Amanda, where people or on Facebook, they'll suddenly show up and here I am, but they haven't done the work consistently to build up of enough of a reputation and built their own community. They're just looking to take as opposed to give, right? And that's how social media works. You got to show up consistently, trying to, I call it pour clean water in the pool. Contribute something that gets away from, social media gets criticized all over the place. That's an easy criticism.
For sure.
It's brain dead easy to criticize it. The more strategic thing is look at how can you use these wonderful platforms to advance a reputation and actually make a difference in somebody else's day, because you don't know who's going to be touched by that story.
Exactly.
Right? Like I just saw the other day a friend of mine back from my hometown in Moncton, New Brunswick. There was a flight delay at Pearson, and I don't know this guy very, very well, okay? True story. I don't know him very well. But he's on my Facebook feed, and he posted this story. He's at Pearson, he's stuck, flight's delayed, and next to him there's a family of 4 or 5. There's mom and dad and maybe 2 or 3 kids, I can't remember. But they're from the Ukraine, they hardly speak any English. They're heading back to Moncton, New Brunswick, and Edgar is right there trying to help a family navigate through this, and they don't speak the language, and whatever was supposed to happen is not happening. Nothing works, okay? Imagine people from another country at an airport about to take another 1,000-mile flight to a place no one's going to show up to meet them. They have no place to stay. Just go through, right, Amanda? You can just imagine the terror that this family's facing. And Edgar says, look, after he tried to help with the translation and tried to track down a hotel or just come to my place. So in other words, they get in at some ungodly hour, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. He takes the coach. He's given up his house to this family. He posted that story. What do you think has happened because of that one story, Amanda? You finished the story for me. What do you think's happened?
Well, since I'm a fellow Maritimer, I can imagine that there was a whole host of people the next morning willing to help. What can we do? How do we help this person?
How do we help this family? How do we help them find accommodations? How do we get them a car? It's just been one steady stream of help, 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 help. And I love, again, I just love the purity of that story. I just thought, there it is. You know, it can be used as a force for good. It's not the fault of the platform. It's right?
The content that's being delivered.
And who has control over that content?
We do.
We do.
And we talked about that this morning as well. It's the goal here is to encourage also word of mouth, which has been around for forever.
Yep.
But we, as the leaders, need to provide the content for people to talk about what we're doing. So pharmacy owners, it is not it's simple, but not easy to identify who we are or what we're trying to achieve. But once you have that, everything else falls into place.
Exactly, and that's why we wrote the book. I mean, Big Little Legends was this idea that I've been working with a long time, but it took 4 years of writing and research to distill into the 12 chapters what's been around since Benjamin Franklin. Word of mouth goes back to Ben Franklin. Well, he was his own content creator. He created the Farmer's Almanac, right? And that helped promote his business because he was also a printer, among other things, right? But Ben Franklin, word of mouth, it's not new, but the platforms, the methodologies, that's different. Have you ever noticed nobody hands out business cards anymore?
Exactly. QR code. Here's my contact.
Here's my contact info. Exactly. Like there was a time we used to go to business meetings and business mixers at the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
And we would stand around incredibly and we would sip little wine, glasses of wine, and we'd have little hors d'oeuvres. That's what and we would chit chat, and then we'd exchange business cards and promise to follow up. Isn't that how it worked? Today it's all on LinkedIn. To me, LinkedIn is the Chamber of Commerce. And you can play and connect with people on those spaces, and consequently develop a reputation and hopefully attract some attention.
And that's the magic, because you don't know who is, it's in the Chamber of Commerce, it was the people in the room.
Right.
When you put it on LinkedIn, it's the people in the world. You have no idea who it's going to resonate with and pull to you. So the storytelling, the access to the video, what advice would you give to somebody that's like, okay, I want to do this. How do I get in that mind frame?
It's going to sound self-serving, but it's not. Read the book first. Hold it up so they can see it. Yeah. Like you got to read this or download it on Audible or whatever, because what we're noticing, and it was released in November of 2021, and what we're noticing, Amanda, is the more people who read it and listen to it, they have a deeper understanding of not just the challenge, but wait a second, yeah, it's a challenge, but wait a second, I can do this. Because why? Because other people, other companies, not that much different from them, are doing this. So if you subscribe to the blog through our website, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, there's all kinds of additional resources we're putting out there. But in terms of practical, right on this episode of what we're doing, live from the PCCA headquarters in London, Ontario, you've got to make a firm decision to decide what you're not going to be. That's the first thing. What does that mean? Well, study your category. Study what all the other, like let's use, in the pharmacy world, all the pharmacies, how do they market themselves? How do they communicate to the world? How do they, if you want something practical, go to 12 different pharmacy websites and start to study the language. What words are they using? What visuals are they using? Right? Things like that. Anyone can do this. It will cost you zero. You could study a dozen or so websites in less than half an hour. And what are they doing? What words are they using? What visual elements are out there? What's the positioning? What's the strategy? And what you're going to find is the sea of sameness. Like you're going to find one big mosh pit, and that's where you've got to decide as the leader, that's not what we're going to do. That's where it really begins. That's how Jim Gilbert actually started. If I bring it back to our first conversation, It's in September of 2002, Amanda, it was that one line, "It's not about the four wheels and the piece of tin." And I went, "What? What are you talking about?" He says, "Everyone's got four wheels and a piece of tin, and they're all good." He says, "There's 22 car dealerships, 100 kilometers around me. Everyone's got the same stuff. What's going to make us different than everybody else?" And he didn't know the answer that day, but he knew what it was not. He knew it was not the products or services. He knew that. And then it only took us, and it's explained in great detail in chapter 2, it only took us 4 years to figure out what it could be. And that could be the story that only he could tell. That's it.
Yeah. So to our listeners and our viewers, I think my challenge to you is to decide what you're not. In a sea of compounders, you need to become a category of one. I'm stealing from you. All of you, I've heard stories in the field. We hear them all the time. You have magic. You just need to develop your own spin on it and make it authentic. I'm not allowed to use authentic anymore. That's my takeaway today. Unique and personal. I think that's the...
Yeah, and never lose sight of this. Without magic, it's just marketing.
That's right. Thank you, Gair.
Thank you, Amanda. This has been a lot of fun, and geez, it was great to be in the room today, and I really appreciate this. Thank you.
And how do they connect with you if they need
Oh,
to?
I'm the easiest guy to find online. GairMaxwell.com. Gair, G-A-I-R. You're on the air with Gair. You used to have hair. Anyway, GairMaxwell.com. You go to the website, you go to the YouTube channel, and then everyone knows what to do from there.
Excellent. Thank you guys for being with us. Thank you, Gair. We'll sign off for now.